Time for the market report. Once again, a turnaround.
That's right, Mike. You know, 1 week prices close down, then the next week they're back up, and we'll get into it. But first, the numbers. What were the week's biggest gains and losses? And then some USDA reports giving us a closer look into broilers, dairy, and crop progress. And finally, what do the experts have to say about the current market moves? We'll find out. So, markets closed the week going back up. Row crops the only exception. Let's take a look. The week's biggest gain, live cattle up over 9.25 cents, a near 4.5% increase from the previous week. The week's biggest loss, sugar, down nearly 0.5 cents, an over 3.25% decrease from the previous week. Several USDA reports dropped recently, giving us a closer look into several industries, including livestock and row crops. On the livestock side, we're looking at broiler chickens and dairy products. And in row crops, the current crop progress report, which is looking quite encouraging so far. Bella Bingham has the details.
In the broiler hatchery report, some positive movement. Eggs and incubators up 1% through the month of May compared to last year. That amounts to about 252 million eggs. Average hatchability for chicks about 79%. Broiler-type chicks placed for meat production at 193 million, up 1% from last year as well. From January through May this year, cumulative placements are up 1% compared to last year. The dairy products report not so positive. Total output about 1.25 billion pounds, about 3% above April last year, but down about 0.5% from March this year. How does that break up? Italian-type cheese production 492 million pounds, American-type cheese production 492 million pounds, and butter production 216 million pounds. In addition, dry milk products, in comparison to April last year, also down. Non-fat dry milk by about 6%, while skim powder down 21%. Whey products looking better, dry whey down about 15%, lactose up 4%, and whey protein up 6.5%. Frozen products mostly down, both regular and low-fat ice cream down by about 2%, sherbet down about 7%, while frozen yogurt up by 5.5%. In the crop progress report, things are looking good so far. In the top 18 corn-producing states, 97% planted. That's 3% higher than this time last year. 87% emerged. That's 4% higher than last year and the same as the 4-year average. Condition very encouraging, with 95% reported fair to excellent. In the top 18 soybean-producing states, Mississippi included, 90% planted, which is 4% above last year and 2% higher than the 4-year average. 75% emerged, which is 7% higher than last year and 3% higher than the 4-year average. Condition also great, with 96% reported fair to excellent. Of the 15 highest cotton-producing states, Mississippi also included, 76% planted, 3% lower than last year and 4% lower than the 4-year average. Squaring, which is when the flower buds begin to form on the plant, at 12%, which is 1% lower than last year, but the same as the 4-year average. Condition, like corn and beans, very positive, with 92% reported fair to excellent.
So, what are the experts talking about right now? Analyst Matt Bennett gives us a little inside baseball on the current situation from a trader's perspective, and much of it revolves around geopolitics, international trade, and current stocks.
You know, a week ago, Monday, you had the ratings come out for spring wheat, and it sure seemed like that 45% kind of shocked the trade. And it just seems like we've been able to build a little bit from here. Clearly, you know, Russia still has the cheapest wheat. The problem is, of course, there's a lot of concerns as to getting that wheat where it needs to go, you know, and so I feel like wheat was just beat down for so long. It took a little bit of good news to at least get a spark going. Are we going to gap higher over the weekend potentially? I don't know, but I know a lot of folks are saying, what if Russia retaliates over the weekend? It's definitely something that could happen, and so I'd be real cautious here, you know, is to think that this wheat market can't keep going higher, especially if this global conflict continues. Yeah, the corn and ethanol both, you know, that's the things that people have been talking about. I do think that it gives you at least something positive to talk about whenever it comes to trade, right? And so clearly exports this year have just been fantastic. The talk lately, I think, overall with exports, though, is what are we going to do this next year? You know, if Brazil's got a big crop, that's all there is to it. And that has been one of the things that's really been hard on July corn, in my opinion, is not necessarily, I mean, we're still fairly tight in the U.S. The problem is that you're going to have enough corn down there to be very competitive in the export market. So you've got to have some good news. Is it giving you you some hope? Yes. I think that maybe as much as anything, whenever you look at, for instance, the bear spreading that's gone on this week, Dees being able to rally on the week is probably a function of some of this weather. And beans, yeah, I mean, obviously, if the corn market gets a little bit of spark, you would think beans would as well. The bean balance sheet's pretty tight. There's a lot that could be called into question there with the new crop balance sheet if we have issues with China. As far as new crop sales, we've been above that 1054 level, which was your spring average twice now. Can we go back above it? I mean, right now I'm in that 1070, 1080 level. If I'm going to step forward with more sales, I want to give it just a little bit of time as well. I don't want to say I'm bullish beans. It's just really tough to make a sale right here, again, if I'm underwater.
And that's it for a deeper look into the markets. Looks like row crops in good shape so far this year, while in livestock, we're still rebuilding.